What's up, guys, and thanks for tuning back into Token Metrics TV or YouTube. You may be watching this on YouTube, but you can also watch it on Token Metrics TV. This is Crypto Foresights. That's the name of this segment. I'm your host, Forrest Pribish, Director of Research here at Token Metrics. And in this video, we are going to break down the question that everybody's wondering. And just looking at the Bitcoin chart here, and I know it's complicated. It's got a lot of lines, right? We could make these lines disappear rather quickly just by clicking a button. And now we're just looking at the Bitcoin chart. And if we zoom out, what's the question that's on everybody's mind here? Is this a bull trap? Is this a fool's rally? Whatever you want to call it, right? Is Bitcoin actually going to go back up? Is the market going to go back up? Or are we going to get rejected and continue this downtrend, right? Well, I've got a couple of things that I'm specifically looking out for to tell me whether or not this is going to be a bull trap, or if we're going to continue on and make new all-time highs towards the end of the year in December or even early 2022, right? One thing has become very apparent, however, in the very recent past. And by the very recent past, I mean in the midst of this dip. In the midst of this dip, if we zoom out here on the ETH Bitcoin chart, Ethereum has actually rallied despite Bitcoin crashing. The Ethereum Bitcoin ratio has actually gone up. Now, earlier this morning, I did draw this out, and it seems we have fallen out of this bearish ascending wedge. So looks like Bitcoin taking back some ground against Ethereum, and we could see this trend maybe correct before continuing out. Regardless, Ethereum has broken out against Bitcoin, and it started to diverge from Bitcoin's path a little bit, which is very interesting. It's not something that we see happen often, right? Especially when Bitcoin is doing poorly. All right, so what I mean by all of that, and the reason I even bring that up, is something's become very apparent over the last week or so. Not only do we need to look at Bitcoin for the direction of the market, but just knowing that Ethereum, that the entire market can crash and Ethereum can hold steady, right? Hold steady just 11% under its all-time high. We probably need to start looking at Ethereum as a leader in the market too, right? Because what could happen is Bitcoin could do poorly or just stand still or chop around, but Ethereum could be the one leading the charge, right? In our last video, we talked about how Ethereum, or on the live stream yesterday rather, we talked about how Ethereum could flip Bitcoin sooner than we think, maybe in the next 90 to 120 days, and we laid that case out. That is not what this video is about. This video is about predominantly Bitcoin as a leader of the market for now, turning around and continuing to make all-time highs, or at least reversing this downtrend. So what are some things that we look for when we want to see a trend reversal? Because right now we at the macro level, right, if we zoom out here and we make sure we're on the logarithmic view, right, we make sure we're on the logarithmic view. If we zoom out to even the daily, and I know this is very, very messy, but what you can very clearly tell is that we are absolutely in an uptrend. We're absolutely in an uptrend. We have been in this big uptrend. Now, on a more micro scale, right, on the 4 hour, right, if we zoom back into all of our technical analysis here, on the 4 hour, we know we are on a downtrend. It's very clear. We have a very clear red downtrend line here. I'm going to start deleting some lines just to make this a little bit easier to see, right? Because this downtrend line is essentially what matters here. This is the level you need to pay attention to. There's actually 3 levels you need to pay attention to, but this downtrend line is probably the most important, right? And this uptrend line is minorly important if we break the downtrend line. But what is the number one sign I want to see Bitcoin break, or number one level I want Bitcoin to break to show me that this is not a fool's rally or not a bull trap? I want to see us retest and break this downtrend line. If we're going to make new all-time highs, just look at this logically, right? This downtrend line extends all the way out to 0 and eventually, right? If we just kept following this downtrend line, it would eventually go to 0. right? So even if we don't go back into, making new all-time highs and into a bull market, a very clear uptrend, we still have to eventually break this downtrend line, right? But one of the major reversal patterns for Bitcoin and all other assets for that matter is called a bump and run. It's where you break your downtrend line, you make support on top of it, and you run higher, right? And that was a very sloppy way to draw it out. It would probably look something like this, right? Chop through it and then make support on top of it and break through, right? Regardless, we could be coming up on this retest rather soon, retesting the downtrend line. And there's a couple things that we can do from applying strategy, from a strategy standpoint, from an account management standpoint, or a portfolio management standpoint, when Bitcoin makes this retest, because it eventually will. It really has to, right? Even like eventually, even if Bitcoin just kept falling and falling and falling, eventually it would have to retest. And this is just, unless it just went straight to zero, which between you and me, I don't mind. We don't give financial advice here, but I don't mind saying that Bitcoin's not going to zero, right? It's not going to zero, at least not anytime soon. So eventually there has to be a retest. Now, the sooner the retest happens, I think the more bullish of a scenario we have, right? If you look at this retest down here from and I'm gonna make this green and bold here, right? If you look at this retest from our crash when we peaked at 65K and we crashed all the way down to 29, right, and came back up, this retest we broke through, made support on top of it, and continued higher, right? But look at how long we had in between. We had like 86, 90 days before the retest. The longer we waited, the lower we went, and the lower we stayed down here around 30K for a long time. What I would like to see is a very fast retest. I'd like us to see a retest within 7, 10, 12, 14 days of this initial spill-off, right? And if we can only spend 2 weeks below this downtrend line, that's a good sign. That's a sign that we're seeing a bid to get Bitcoin back over this downtrend line. What I don't want to see is this, right? A bounce back down and consolidation on $44,000, and then a retest down here at $47,000. Right? That's what I don't want to see. Right? It may be that that's the retest, but as far as retests go, I'm a big fan of selling the retest. Why? Why do we want to sell the retest? Well, a couple of reasons. I'm going to walk you through. The reason you sell the retest of this downtrend line is because regardless of what price does, you can usually benefit. Usually, right? The only scenario in which we don't benefit from selling the retest is if it just passes straight through it without coming back down and making support on top of it. That rarely ever happens, right? So let's say Bitcoin just continues to go up into this downtrend line, right? And we fail, but we sold the retest. We sold some of our Bitcoin here, right? You don't have to sell everything. It's 5-10%, right? And I'm not being bearish here, but it's just smart to sell the retest because there's a chance we get rejected, right? And then if we get rejected, you can take the profits from selling that retest and rebuy down here at 44K or lower, right? Along the way. Right? Well, what happens if we break through? Well, chances are we see a bump and run. Almost always you'll see a bump and run. So you sell the retest and then you just buy your Bitcoin back at a slightly lower price on the bump and run, right? As it tests this downtrend line. And then you ride it higher. You ride it higher. So as far as strategy goes, I'm a big fan of selling this retest. So this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a clear break of this downtrend line to tell us whether or not this is a fool's rally or not, right? The other two levels I'm watching are these margin pressure levels and this 52.7K level, right? And this 52.7K level, you also want to watch right above it. You want to watch this resistance and support, which is right around 54K. So we kind of have a band in here that you also want to watch. And I'm going to make that a dashed line, right? So we have these two bands that are going to act as strong support and strong resistance, right? So I want to see us get above this band, above the $52,000 to $54,000 band. I want to see us make support on top of it, right? And I want to see us go and test $58,000, $59,000. If Bitcoin can recover this level and at least even chop around in here, I think the market's in good shape, right? So in the meantime, right, I think the smartest thing to do here, in fact, I feel very strongly the smartest thing to do here is to just hold. Just hold. Don't make any rash decisions, right? We don't want to sell too early and then Bitcoin just continues to go up and do this bump and run. We don't want to get overexcited and buy here and buy this rally because we could very easily come back down and consolidate down at 44K. I think the best thing to do is just let this market decide where it's going to retest this downtrend line. Sooner the better. If we have to wait, we have to wait. And maybe we sell here, right, and buy back here, or we sell here and we buy back on the flip side of the downtrend line should we break it. Okay, so it's very, very simple from a strategy standpoint of what we want to do here. We just want to be very, very careful. Use good risk management. Use your head here, right? The key levels to watch for Ethereum, on the other hand, and Ethereum looks extremely bullish with the exception of the very short term, right? The very short term ETH Bitcoin ratio. ETH Bitcoin looks a little bit bearish, but we could just see a little correction here and move back up. That's at least what we saw in the last bearish ascending wedge. And there was one more bearish ascending wedge back here that gave us a deeper correction, right? So I'm a little bit weary of ETH right now, but overall, right, even if we come back down to 4K, we're seeing this unwinding pattern of expanding volatility. Usually expanding volatility is incredibly bullish, right? And we want to see Ethereum go up and test its previous all-time high, right? This was its previous all-time high. This was the all-time high before that, right? That's what these two levels are. And there's one big margin pressure level, the 2x long margin pressure level at 5,300 that should act as resistance. But I'd like to see it act as resistance, get a little correction down to our previous all-time high, and then continue on higher. And I think that's a realistic path for Ethereum moving forward, right? So yeah, that's what I'm looking for, guys. I think in the meantime, the smart thing to do is HODL, right? Looking at total cryptocurrency market cap, monthly candles. Yeah, we've had a little bit of a correction here. In total, it was a 33% correction, 32% correction from the all-time high up here, right? Look at our previous market cycle. These little red candles, these seemingly harmless red candles in hindsight in the previous market cycle shook out a lot of people. Why? Because these candles that seem like it's just one candle, it's actually like 4 weeks because these are monthly candles, were extremely painful. And people thought the market cycle was ending, right? Because these were 47% corrections. The first one was a 47% correction. The next one was a 44% correction. That's brutal, right? If you think this correction's bad, imagine a 44% and a 47% correction back to back, really faking you out before Bitcoin goes, or the rest of the market goes up 700 to 1,000%, right? From this red candle, it was 1,250%, right? So it doesn't make sense to get spooked too early before Bitcoin even retests its downtrend level, right? At least I don't believe it's smart to get spooked so early, right? We're in the midst of a 31, 32, 33% correction in total cryptocurrency market cap. This does not spell bear market, not yet, right? Bear market looks like this, 70% correction. 70% correction followed by an 83% rally, right? We have not had this nasty 70% correction yet where it's the end of the world, right? And then we can talk about selling the bull trap, right, when we bounce. So, guys, I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please do like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get to 1 million subscribers here at Token Metrics, and we need your help to do that. Yeah, overall, that's all I've got. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.